record this. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Christine Malloy. I am the race director for this race. I spent a lot of time as an endurance athlete. I played around in the triathlon world for several years, and I want to congratulate you all because triathlon, what do they say? Why be good at one sport when you can be mediocre at three? It is not an easy sport and it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, even in the sprint setting. So kudos to you. I've read through a lot of the questions that people had. I know that the majority of questions are pretty much about the swim. I know the swim gets really, really scary for a lot of people, me included. In fact, when I created this, because I knew the bike leg was going to be a little more challenging, I wanted to make the swim as short as I could. And that is, I wanted to give participants the opportunity to have a reachable swim. When I looked to do my first sprint triathlon, I was like, what is the least amount of swimming I could possibly do? And that is what I did. And I'm not a great swimmer. It's not my strength. I'm actually not even an amazing athlete. I'm an okay athlete. I'm usually fourth or fifth in my age group, and there's usually only like 10 people there. So that's where I am. And I hope that with that, I'm able to give you an experience for, you know, the people who don't necessarily win. No offense, Paul. Second place last year, right?
Yeah, second.
So I want to give you guys that experience because we all deserve it. And in fact, we train for it. So with the swim, I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And that was always my biggest thing. Should I wear a wetsuit? Should I not wear a wetsuit? Some of these are personal decisions that you'll have to make. But the most important thing when you're doing the swim is just to breathe and to smile and to just relax. If you need to take 5 seconds and wait for everybody to run in, that's okay. You can do that. Absolutely. So the most important thing that I want for you is just to be able to relax and enjoy the swim. It's short. It's short. You'll go through it pretty quickly. If you don't through it quickly, it's okay. There's no time limit. And unless you're in distress, then we'll pull you out of the water. We will have lifeguards on kayaks all throughout. And in addition to that, the Hopatcong State Police will be on standby. St. Clair's EMS will also be on standby. And the Hopatcong Police boat will be in the water as well. Last year, we did have somebody who got a little bit overwhelmed. They weren't hurt, they just got overwhelmed, and they did get brought to shore. It's okay. Um, I get a lot of questions because this is a sprint triathlon on what can I wear. You can wear a wetsuit. The water's warm, but we're not USA triathlon. We're not bound by those rules and regulations. So you can still place if you wear one. We're not following those traditional rules. If you can, if in terms of placing in your age group. In addition to that, you can just wear a triathlon, a tri-suit. You can do that as well. There was some women who wore bathing suits, some men who just wore bathing suits. It's really up to you. It's what you feel comfortable with. Personally, I'm a pretty crappy swimmer. I'm going to wear that wetsuit as life insurance because the wetsuit makes me more buoyant. I practice in it. I know how it feels, and I just know that I will be better with it. If you're not wearing a wetsuit right now and you want to go buy one and try it out, you really need to be in that wetsuit quite frequently. You don't want to show up there first time in that wetsuit on race day. You might put it on backwards or get a little bit overwhelmed at how tight it might feel. This is something you want to do when you have time. So that's the first thing I want to say because I had a lot of questions about that. And as somebody who is not a great swimmer, I was really always last out of the water, maybe second to last. But I always got out, never had to get pulled in. But that was always my thing. But I'm more of a cyclist personally. And you'll see that in this course. This course, from a cyclist perspective, it's technical. You will use all your gears. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And I'm going to send out some information on a ride that my mother-in-law will be hosting to help some newer people who don't have a lot of experience with the bikes and the gears. And then in addition to that, we had I said most of the questions are about were really about the swim. What about the swim? What about the swim? But really quick, I'm going to go over to my slideshow. But before I do, I want to mention to take a look at the participant guide. It has all the maps for all the routes along for the bike. It has for the swim. In addition to that, it also has for the run and it has the elevation profiles within them. I updated it I think a week ago, and that is now available on there. That has all of the up-to-date information. Let me go to here. Why I want it? Okay. Share. Let me try this again. Okay, here we go. All right, so I want to give a special thanks to Paul. He has Capuzzo Multisport Coaching. He's an amazing athlete, and he generously has volunteered just to come help you guys out. That's what he does. If you are interested in coaching, a lot of people in the triathlon world really like it. It really helps, especially, as you need reassurance and things like that. I highly recommend connecting with him. Um, if you get bit by the triathlon bug and then all of a sudden you're signed up for a half Ironman or an Ironman and then things escalate very quickly for triathletes. Some information from me, the parking. There are various places to park around the Crescent Cove Beach, but this is a residential neighborhood that happens to have a huge beach club on it. We've made a few changes from this year, from last year. And one of the big changes, really the only big change that we've made, is that our transition area will no longer be in the parking lot of the Crescent Cove Beach. It will actually be within the grounds of the beach club. And we're hoping that will just make things a little bit easier with the traffic that is along that route, and it'll open up some parking as well. There really is going to be limited parking there. So what I would plan to do is I would plan to drop off your bike. Transition will close around 7 a.m. And then packet pickup will also close at that time as well. And that's because we need to have you guys ready to go. So we're 30 minutes before our start time. We're going to close everything off so that we can be ready to roll, standing and ready. There's parking at various places. Do not park at Johnny's Marina. They are next to the beacon, but they are not so into having visitors there. You can park on the streets, however, be mindful to not block people's mailboxes or driveways or otherwise irritate the people of Hopakong. If you do, there's a possibility that the complaints might go up the line and we might not get great feedback and be able to host this event again. So remember, this is a residential neighborhood, and while everybody in the neighborhood supports the police, they also like their peace as well. So we are kind of bringing a little fun into their neighborhood and also bringing a lot of business to their local economy. So please stop at 3-in-1 Deli. I used to work there. When I was 15 years old, I worked at 3-in-1 Deli. I worked there until I was 18. Um, stop at the local businesses, especially those that are owned by like small business owners. Twist on Thai is an amazing Thai restaurant. Highly recommend. Best coconut ice cream. There's parking there. There is the former Hudson Maxim School that is now Elite Prep Academy. They have parking there. They have additional parking in front, and then they have a parking lot underneath. There's additional road parking on the river on River Styx Road, where all the businesses are, and there's parking at the Beacon and the Grotto. We ask that spectators go over to the park and ride and walk over. They can get dropped off if need be. There's plenty of parking around town, but most of it is going to be it's going to be mostly
Sir,
walk.
Sir Maulik. If to add some time setting out, it will be done. So if you want, this is a full.
So, this year, another big change that we've made is we've added color-coded caps to our start. And once I have the caps physically in hand, I'll be assigning them the colors based on that, based on the numbers that we have at that time. But we will have 3 waves for men, as men make up about 67% of our field. And then we will have 3 waves for men, and then 1 wave for women, and then we will have new triathlete men and women. The new wave is meant for people who are nervous. I know personally, my first triathlon, I watched every single person enter that water and I was just analyzing, watching what should I do? What are they doing? It's actually to me one of the most adorable times that triathletes have. The women are huddled together like penguins and they're all like nervously talking to each other and the men are just focused, like in the water, like, you have a few of them joking, but the women, we all like huddle together and we're just like, oh my God, I'm so nervous. This is my first triathlon. And everyone's like, you'll be fine. And the men kind of stand and they get very, the competitive men go out first and the competitive women also, go out. There's no problem with just waiting until the craziness goes by and then just stopping in 5 seconds later.
The
But
men are scared too. They're just acting tough.
yeah, they're scared too. Yeah, but the women, we're a little more community based, so we just kind of huddle together and we're just like, help. But the new triathlete wave is the idea is our lifeguards are going to be watching you guys a little bit more. Our staff is going to be watching you guys more, and it's just after all the craziness, and it'll be a little bit smaller. And basically, up until the night before, you can switch and decide. I can probably make changes day of. I just have to check with our timer on how we would facilitate that. But if you want to be put into that wave, no pressure, but we just have it available just to give a little more separation. We got some feedback last year that they would have liked a little bit more separation on the swim, so we're happy to oblige with that. Um, the course is not busy in the early AM. The swim water's been a little warm. It's been hot out, so it's between 75 and 79 degrees right now. I'll get more accurate temperatures once I meet with Wendy, the owner of Crescent Cove Beach tomorrow. She has pretty much been she monitored her the Crescent Cove is highly monitored by the New Jersey Environmental Protection. I know that it's kind of algae bloom season, so they're being monitored quite frequently. Any updates on that, I will let you know. Last year, there was an algae bloom for like 2 or 3 days, and then it pretty much got cleaned up. They just had a no swim order for 2 or 3 days, but it's something that usually passes really quickly because of the location of the cove and the amount of they have the irrigators that the fountains that clear up all the water. So Wendy has a really beautiful beach there, and I know that you'll really enjoy it. And because of that, it's tested, it's taken care of. I would say that what I was not expecting last year, even though the police was organizing this, I was not expecting the amount of police presence. It was like a presidential motorcade. And it was pretty amazing. The police really heavily took care of all of, especially our cyclists, which made me so happy. Because the bike ride can be a hard leg for many people who aren't experienced cyclists. So there will be heavy police presence. They will be following you guys in their cars. About 10 to 15 officers will be on site. We basically will have almost the entire police department out. Um, at volunteering, selling, working, and I believe there will be an additional police presence that they're going to be hiring from outside. Um, while there are no closed roads for the bike or the run, you are very well taken care of. But we do ask that you follow etiquette. On that bike, I don't want to see you with your headphones on. I don't want to see you with your headphones on. If you really need music, put it on speaker and put it in your back pocket, but do not ride with headphones on. It is so dangerous. People cannot hear you. I don't care if they're the open air, anything like that. I don't want to see you with headphones on the bike. It's really not safe. I'm a cyclist before I'm anything. So, on the run, do what you need to do. But on that bike, it's not that long. You can live without music if you want. I can sing following along in the car. Just kidding. So, just a reminder, if you raise $150 for the Hopakong PBA, you get a Lake Hopakong Tri hoodie. I actually have to update all my graphics. This is last year's. But this year I have yet to unveil yet. I'm making a little more of a surprise. Um, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paul. Um, he's going to go over his portion and what he says as a triathlon coach.
Do you want me to share my screen?
Hold on, let me give you the power to do that. Make host. Yes. Hold on, let me just make sure that it continued to save, into record.
Okay.
Hold on, show meeting, pop out, more. Okay, no, I'm good. I'm still recording.
Okay. Um, Let me see
If
if I
you
can.
have any questions, as we go through, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Let me see.
Yes, packet pickup is going to be at the Beacon. I believe it says from 4 to 8, but I think I'm going to be expanding it from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. And it will be at the Beacon, which is just around the corner from the site. And that
Okay.
it's also in the participant guide as well.
Are you guys seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Christine. So, as Christine mentioned, you definitely want to read the participant guide. It's got lots of information. You always want to know the rules, and everything that's in there is worth reading. So, definitely check it out. So Christine talked about the swim. It's a 400-meter swim. It's basically, is it still a counterclockwise loop this year?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So basically that means you're going to keep the buoys on your left. It's basically out, make a left, and then make a left and come on back. Um, the bike course is about 12 and a half miles. It's turny, it's punchy. I'm going to talk to you about strategies on how best to manage that. And then the run is basically an out and back, kind of like a lollipop shape. And it starts with a big hill. So I'm going to talk to you about good ways to manage that. I did this race last year. It was super well marked. There was police everywhere. The run was well staffed. It's a great course. You won't have any problem, as far as knowing where to go. And then just be aware, as Christine mentioned, the course is open to traffic, and it passes through a lot of residential neighborhoods. So just kind of have your head on a swivel, because you know anybody could pull out of a driveway. You just kind of be attentive the way you normally are when you ride your bike or when you go for a run. So again, as Christine mentioned, there's going to be waves for your age group, but if you would feel more comfortable in the beginner wave, then that's the right move. You don't want to, the start of a triathlon and jumping into some dark, spooky water is a very stressful thing for a lot of people. So, do what you think is going to make you most comfortable. Um, when you get into the water, your heart rate's going to be super high. So take your time. I always say in a race scenario, you're going faster than you think you are. You don't need to swim like crazy. Even if you just kind of swim at an effort level that feels easy, you're going pretty fast because it's a race, and you're going to be very adrenalized. You're going to be going faster than you think. When you're swimming, maybe every 5 breaths or so, you want to kind of pop your head up and make sure you're still heading in the right direction and you're not, heading off to wherever. Um, you're not allowed to draft on the bike, but you're allowed to draft in the water. So if you're swimming along and you see somebody's feet in front of you and you can just sort of hang out within their draft, do it. That's going to save you energy. I call it friendly feet. Find some friendly feet, and if you're drafting off of someone, you might even feel like you're going a little too slow, but that's because you're getting the benefit of their draft. So I would say, unless it feels really, really too slow, hang out there for a little while. Save yourself some energy. And Christine, confirming it's okay for them to hold on to a boat. The rule is, as long as you don't make forward progress, you're allowed to hang on to that boat if you need a little break. Is that true?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, you absolutely can hold on to a buoy. You can hold on to a kayak, but you just can't make that forward progress because that's not fair to somebody who might be 5 seconds behind you in your age group.
Yeah.
So even though we're not bound to those USA triathlon rules, we still, want to have that common sense of just making sure that our athletes, that we're being fair to in competition. We also did get feedback that additional sighting would be helpful. So we did add feather flags at the out of the swim just to help you sight a little bit better,
Hmm.
especially, once the water gets moving, we wanted to make sure that you have something to be able to see. It was some feedback we got, so we happily listened to that.
Yeah. We'll talk more about, basically what to do between now and race day to get yourself ready for the race. But getting into open water is obviously ideal, especially if you're thinking about wearing a wetsuit. But even if you can't get into open water, popping your head up and looking forward is something you could do in the pool. If you're swimming at wherever you do your swims, when you're just doing your plain old swim workout, halfway down the lane, just pop up and just kind of get used to trying to incorporate that move of sighting into your stroke without having to completely come to a stop. Okay, so here's a very, very handsome triathlete running out of the lake last year. So when you come out of the swim, to save yourself time, let me see if I can get this thing to loop. So, as soon as you get out of the water, start taking your wetsuit off if you're wearing a wetsuit. And you'll notice I took the top half off, and then when I ran to my bike, and then I held on to my bike and kind of stomped my legs out to get the bottom half off. So that's a good strategy. You're kind of multitasking as you run out of the swim towards the first transition area. Make sure that probably the first thing you should do when you get there is put your helmet on and clip it. Um, as Christine mentioned, this is not a USA Triathlon sanctioned race, but if you ever do one, and I hope you do, the rules are if you, from the minute grab your bike to the minute you get off your bike and have it back on the rack, your helmet has to be on and clipped. That's the rules. Okay. And it's just safer, obviously. When you're running out of transition with your bike, have your bike on your right. Because if you think about it, if you have your bike on your left, you're going to get grease and schmutz all over your left leg because that's where the drivetrain is. So run on the non-drivetrain side of your bike.
What is the fun if you don't have that tattoo?
That's the that is the official first timer triathlon tattoo. I mean, everybody does it, but
Everybody, yeah.
yeah, but um, so there's probably going to be when you run out of the first, when you run out of the transition area, don't get on your bike until you get to there's either like a line or there's going to be a volunteer saying this is where you mount your bike. Don't get on your bike before that.
We have a sign that says bike out. And I believe that this year, as long as I can price it out nicely, we're just going to end up buying barricades because the rental isn't 3 times as much as buying them. So
And the last thing is this bike course, you pretty much right away you start going up a hill, and that's a problem if your bike is in a hard gear. So, when you leave to walk down to the swim, make sure your bike is on the smaller chain ring. And that way, once you get on the bike, it's easier to get moving on it instead of having to mash on the pedals because it's in too big a gear. Um,
Base allows the drill guides to utilize without the
Christine,
entire.
you want to buddy for me? Okay. Um, so,
Slides. I don't know.
Christine, are you able to figure out who that is and unmute them?
It's going to autoplan slide the way go.
You got them? Okay. All right. So let's talk bike strategy. This course there's a lot of ups and downs. It's kind of turny. You're not going to be able to stay in one gear the whole time. There's going to be a lot of shifting. There's going to be a lot of turning. There's going to be a lot of braking. So if you haven't had your bike serviced in a while, I would say put that on your to-do list between now and race day because you're gonna really put your bike through its paces on race day, and you want to make sure it's in proper working order. Um,
you can also Cyclecraft will check over your bike for free. If you need anything, that's on you. But they'll give you a safety check. But don't go on September 1st.
yep.
If you need a part, they have to order it, and that's going to take a few days. Plus, you got to be on their schedule. Um, that means that this is the weekend. get your bike into the shop. I don't care if you just had it. It's a no-brainer. Can you please just check my bike over for safety? I'm doing
Hmm.
a triathlon. It's hilly. Go to your local bike shop. You don't know how many people came up to Brendan last year, like, can you check my bike really quick? And he's like, okay, I got you. But it's not ideal because if you need something, he might not have what you need on there.
Yeah, so that's a do it sooner rather than later thing. And then after you've had your bike service, take it out for a couple of rides and make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to work. So the first road that you ride on kind of out to the main part of the course is pretty narrow. There might be cars parked on both sides. So I would say um, that's not really where you want to make hay. Like kind of get out to that main road first before you really start bearing down and getting to work. And then there's plenty of real estate where you can ride comfortably and ride hard. Um, be proactive with your shifting. You don't want to wait until you're on the hill to get into an easy gear because then it's going to be too late and your cadence is going to slow way down. So, ideally, the whole time you're racing, you're kind of keeping the same cadence, which is, fairly, if you have a cadence meter, it's usually probably around 85 RPM. But in order to keep that cadence steady, you're going to have to shift up. You're going to have to shift down. Like if it's, you're going to have to be active with the gears.
That's how we go.
Ooh, I got a singer.
Everything that you want comes with the price.
Nice. I would say don't even mute that guy. Let's just let him keep jamming out. That was pretty good. All right. So you're going to see a lot of people popping up out of the saddle and mashing up the hills, standing. That's fine, except you have to run after this ride. And standing up and mashing on your pedals is a great way to blow your quads out and just make the run that much harder. So try to keep your butt in the saddle as much as you can, which won't be a problem if you're shifting effectively and you're trying to keep your cadence up. Okay? And even though the bike is relatively short, you do need to fuel. You do need more than just water. You need carbs. We can talk about different sports drinks that are good. And if it's hot, and if it's anything like today, you don't just need carbs and fluids. You probably need a little extra salt too. So we can talk about ways to get that. Okay. So you come back into the second transition, keep your helmet on, right? Don't unclip it until your bike is on the rack. It's actually called the Risotelo rule because there was a top American triathlete who was doing a race where first prize was a car, and he got disqualified because he, I think, unbuckled his helmet too quickly. They disqualified him, and he missed out on a car. And now he's one of the top USA triathlon officials. So, but keep your helmet on until it's time to head out for the run. In a short race, being efficient in the transitions matters. So if you have some of those stretchy laces, to get your shoes on, not without having to bend over and tie your shoes. Do you have one of those number belts where you're not standing in transition trying to pin your number on? Think about ways where you can make the process just sort of a grab and go thing. You run in, you put your bike on the rack, you take your helmet off, you put your shoes on, you grab a couple of things, and whoosh, out you go. Okay, grab a gel, grab some shoes, stick it in your back pocket. Okay, you don't want to be stationary,
And
if
you
you can
can
avoid it.
practice your transition at
Oh
home.
yeah.
I practiced mine. My kids were they were little at the time, so they would laugh at me and they would take my stuff and run around with it. It made it more fun. But practice at home, just like what does it look like to get my shoes on? What is it like? What do I need? Oh my gosh, my shoes have to be unlaced. Oh, like what I'm gonna need a towel. I'm gonna need this. And that way you kind of practice for yourself.
Yep. So the run course, pretty much right away, there's a short, pretty steep climb up to that first traffic light, and then there's just sort of like a long, steady uphill. So, as I said earlier with the swim, even if you feel like you're going slow because of this uphill, first of all, I guarantee you're going faster than you think you are. And second of all, be smart about this course. If you play your cards right, I would bet that your first mile will be the slowest mile, your middle mile will be your second fastest, and then the last mile is not going to be your fastest mile. You're going to get faster as you go on this course because it's up do a loop, and then come back down. And you can really hammer on the way back down if you didn't do anything foolish early in the race. So be patient. Um, when you do that loop about halfway through, there's ice, there's water. So if it's a hot day, drink a little water, but water over the head, water in your face. If there's ice, rub the ice all over you to keep yourself cool. And if there's calories, try to drink them and try not to splash them into your eye. And then there's a street called Oakwood on the way back. You'll see it on the way out too. Once you get to Oakwood, it's all downhill from there, but in a good way. You can just roll on downhill to the finish and really blast. Um, I'm a big believer in positive visualization and positive self-talk. So before, the run is going to be tough. It's a long hill, and having a positive attitude helps. I promise you it does. So, just come up with whatever mantra works for you just to kind of keep yourself motivated and just keep saying it's going to get easier. Like I'm going to get up this hill and then I'm just going to get faster and faster as I go. Um, I'm a big believer in having a positive attitude. So, you'll feel a lot better if a kid's holding out their hand to high five that kid. Smile at people, wave at people. Um, you're gonna ride and run past volunteers and police, say thank you to them. You can do that while still hammering this race, and it'll just make you feel better.
And
And make
cheer each other on, take care of one
Yep,
another. You
yep.
know, I think that the best part about this race last year was seeing how much everybody just supported and took care of each other. And it was just so cool. And also on that run, because I'm a big history fan, is the home of Hudson Maxim. You might not be able to see it, but you maybe ride by it later. Back in the day, he developed dynamite, so he used to test it on his lakefront home. So there was frequent explosions. So it gives you a little fun history of like random, sorry, um, randomness of Hopakong, that this is like a historic home there. And it's a pretty neat little area.
It's a beautiful area. But there's one spot where you're running up the hill and you just kind of catch a view of the whole lake. It's really, really beautiful. So let's talk about what to do and what not to do between now and race day. So you have 3.5 weeks. You do have time to gain fitness, but what you don't want to do is pile on an immense amount of work because it might make you fitter, but obviously when you do a big block of training, it makes you tired. And you want to have time to absorb all that work, so don't do a ton between now and then. Um, so, I don't want to bore you to death with training philosophy, but uh, if you wanted to gain a lot of fitness between now and September 6th or 7th, the vast majority of your training should be relatively easy training, easy running, easy riding. I would say 80 to 90% of your workouts should be easy to help you build an aerobic base. And then you want to sprinkle some speed on top of that, right? Um, so here I have like a quick sample swim, bike, and run work. If they all kind of follow the same structure, you start with some easy stuff, do an easy warm up. Um, the swim workout would be do some longer intervals that are a little slower than what feels like race effort. Do some kind of medium intervals at a pace that feels like, I think this might be my race effort. And then do some shorter stuff that feels faster than race effort. And just kind of make the workout progressively faster as you go. It doesn't have to be a ton. It doesn't take a lot um, to stimulate the response that you're going for. Same thing on the bike. Go ride. I did a ride today. I rode for a little while, easy. There was a little bit of warming up, and then I did some pretty hard stuff, but it didn't last that long. Um, so throw in some 1 minute intervals at what feels like a race effort, and do a little recovery, then do another one. Same thing with runs, go run, let the first 10 minutes be easy, and then do 6 by 15 seconds or 6 by 30 seconds at feels like race pace, and then do a long, easy cool down. That's it. It's not really rocket science. Um, and if you do these short little intervals, you will gain fitness, but because the intervals aren't that long, you won't, the next day you're not going to feel like a truck ran over you because you did, these long, hard intervals. Um,
Intervals are so
so,
much fun in this heat.
oh, sheesh. I mean, I rode for about 2 hours today. My bottles were literally hot. I was drinking like hot liquids. I'm like, oh, this is not great, but you got to fuel and you need fluid. So, um,
We have a few questions in the chat. So, Eric is asking, how many days a week do you recommend training?
um, it really depends. It depends on what you're doing right now. Um, if you've only been training, thank you for bringing the chat to my attention because I have my full screen showing. So,
You're
and
fine.
any question we don't get to, obviously, when I'm done sharing my screen, I'll address all the questions. Um, listen, a basic template would be, you know, what if you did 2 rides, 2 runs, and 2 swims, and you know, one of each of those things was just kind of like an easy kind of aerobic type thing, and the other one was kind of like what I shared in this presentation, where you just had some little speedy sprinkles in it. I don't think you want to go from working out twice a week to working out every day because that's kind of inviting fatigue or injury. Um, so it really depends on where you're at. Um, but I do think people are surprised at how much fitness they can gain from workouts that seem easy. I don't want to go off on a big tangent about, endurance training and stuff, but you'd be amazed the percentage of, training that the world's best endurance athletes do that's easy. It's long, but it's easy. But then when they do their hard stuff, it's hard, you know. But everyone's different. I have athletes that only train 5 days a week because they have busy work stuff. I train 7 days a week. Everybody's sort of different. Um, you know, I hope that helps. But I think if you did a couple of runs, a couple of swims, and a couple of bikes every week, that's pretty good. If you spread it over 5 or 6 days, um, and an off day doesn't have to be a completely no activity day. An off day can be a really easy ride, easy half-hour ride, easy 20-minute run, because those little workouts that you don't really think are much, they add up, and then suddenly you're like, oh, I had an extra 3 hours of riding this month just because I did these little dinky rides. They didn't take a lot out of me. So, are there any other questions in the chat that you want me to address right now, Christina, or should I go ahead with the rest of this? Just go over cooking dinner. So let me talk about nutrition, and then when I'm done sharing my screen, I'm going to go into the chat and I'll make sure I answer everybody's questions. So nutrition tips. So race week, you kind of want to behave a little bit. You should be hydrating every day, especially in weather like this, because it's ridiculous. Um, the easiest thing to grab at the quick check is Gatorade, which is fine, but it's a lot of sugar that you don't really need for just like casual hydration. There's a product called Noon. You can find it on Amazon, and it's basically just a little tablet. It's almost like a little fizzy tablet, and it's got very few carbs. It's got a lot of electrolytes, and it's just kind of like enhancing your daily hydration. I used a couple today. I use them every day. Um, Race week is a good week to dial back the booze. Frankly, if you're serious about improving as an athlete, it's always the right time to dial back the booze. Don't get me wrong. I love a cold beer. But there are certain times a year where I'm just like I'm just gonna cut that out because it affects your sleep. There's a lot of reasons why drinking is not really what you really want as an athlete. Um, so that race week, the race is Sunday. The closer you get to race day, the more carb centric you want your diet to be. Um, you want to build up the glycogen stores in your muscles. Um, You want to kind of dial back the fiber because fiber is harder to digest and it'll just kind of sit in your stomach. Have some pancakes, keep hydrating. Noon is great. If you're the kind of person that ends up covered in sweat after a long ride or a run or something, there's a great product called Element, which is a lot of salt, so be careful. Um, there's also a product called Salt Stick, that's just great, and it's a way to add salt without literally just dumping some salt. I mean, some people do that, but it tastes salty. Like so these products are designed to add salt to your hydration if you need it. Um, Element is 1,000 milligrams of salt. That's not something you want to do every day. But if let's just say the race for today, it's broiling hot out, you're going to sweat, and you're going to sweat a lot of salt. So you'd want to add some extra salt to it. Um,
Paul, just to correct it, it is a Saturday race.
it's a Saturday race. Okay.
I wish it was Sunday because,
Yeah.
I'm also a teacher. It's my first week of school, but
Oh, geez.
they also have the pack on farmers market on Sundays, so
Yeah.
it had to be
Okay.
a Saturday.
So
Just
actually, so then this slide is accurate then, because it's 2 nights out. You have a big carb heavy dinner the day before is lots of carbs, and then just hydrating well, um, and then add some salt to your hydration, and then the race is Saturday morning. So let's talk about race day. So breakfast is all carbs. You don't want a lot of protein. You don't want a lot of fiber. You don't want any fiber. You don't want a lot of dairy. So it's basically carbs and coffee. you know. Um, I personally like to sort of like preload before the race with a bottle of the fuel that I'm planning on drinking during the race. Um, because it's kind of hard to fuel on this particular course because you're riding your bike. It's turny. There's a lot of shifting. Like you're not going to have a ton of opportunities to reach down and grab a bottle. So kind of preloading with a bottle of fuel before the race even starts is a good way to sort of balance that in case you don't get to fuel a lot during the race.
we will have some fuel at the water stop, so I will have bananas, probably really just bananas, and I will have water, and I probably will have some sort of drink with a calorie in it as well. But when in doubt, you always want to bring what you're used to, your own stuff, especially if you have a sensitive stomach. I do, and I have a tree nut allergy, so I just I bring what I need. I'm a real big fan of bananas. I keep one in transition because you can cut it in half, eat half of it before the bike, eat half of it before the run.
Okay. So if you are a gel person, energy gel, about 15 minutes before you get in the water, that's the right time to have a gel. On the bike, something, again, you need more than just water. You're going to be working hard for hour and a half, 2 hours. Like that's a long time to be, you're going to be working hard the whole time. So you need fuel, you need calories, and the way that you fuel during intense exercise is with sugar. Okay. Um, Lots and lots of sugar. Just it's the opposite of what you would normally do on a regular day. On a regular day, sitting around, you'd never want lots of sugar and salt. But on race day, especially when it's hot, you need all the sugar and salt as needed, depending on how salty you are as a sweater. Um, when you
Do
head
you
out
have
on the
a
run,
favorite gel?
me personally, I love Never Second. Um, it's I can share after Christine. We'll talk about this, but after this is all over, I can send out an email to everyone with lots of links to all these fuels and stuff that I've read um, that I've mentioned. But I personally, I love Never Second. It's really good. They're not too like it's liquidy enough that you can just drink it and go. I like their drink mix as well. But this is everybody has their thing that they prefer. There's lots of great fuels out there. It's just a matter of finding one that works for you. Scratch is great. They have lots
I
of
love
delicious
Scratch.
flavors.
Also,
Uh,
if you go and visit Cyclecraft and get your bike taken, like what I did when I first started is I picked like one of each brand, maybe two of each
yep,
brand, and just kind of tried them out. Some of them, I mean, it was just like, woo. And
yep,
then some of them, I'm like, wow, these are delicious. I could eat these for fun.
yeah,
So you can always try your own. And if you go to Cyclecraft, they have like a huge wall of like tons of gels. Running stores have them too.
yep,
I just pick one of each and see what I like, what I can
yep,
tolerate.
yep. That's a great strategy. Anything that you use on race day should theoretically be what you've been using. You've done workouts with it before, so that you know it works for you. I always grab a gel when I head out on the run. If you think about it, by the time you head out on the run, you more into your day. I mean, that's fuel time. It's time to fuel. So a gel or some chews or whatever you prefer, but get some calories in you on the run. When you're working that hard, you are burning calories, and you need to replace them. Um, that said, you don't want to overfuel or oversalt, especially on a hot day, because if it's really hot and your body's trying to digest but also cool you off, like your stomach can kind of stall. So I don't think you should be, it shouldn't be like a buffet all day because it's a relatively short race, but hopefully you can sort of find that balance. And then after the race, it's time to celebrate and give yourself a pass and pretty much eat whatever you want to eat. Ideally, after a hard race or a hard workout, you want to get some carbs, but also some protein, because protein is what helps you recover. And don't stop hydrating. You're going to sweat a lot, and you need to keep hydrating for the rest of the day. You can do a water here and a beer there if you want, but it's important to keep hydrating, because you're going to be dehydrated by that time. And then we've kind of talked about this, but nothing new on race day is, every coach worth his or her salt will always say, don't ever do it for the first time on race day. And you've probably heard horror stories of people that try a gel or try wearing a thing. Hey, this is my first time wearing my wetsuit. Well, okay, that's a little, it could be dicey. So here are some things you could do between now and race day. Have you ever gone for a run pretty much right after you get off the bike? If you haven't, that's a fun experience. Your body doesn't know what the heck to do, because all of the muscles that were just pushing a minute ago are now trying to pull. So it's called a brick workout, where, go ride your bike for however long and then come back, and as quickly as you can, go out for, it doesn't have to be a long run, 10-minute, 15-minute run, just to kind of get a feel. That way your body knows how to go from, riding position where you're pushing to running position where you're pulling now. Okay. If you're planning on wearing a wetsuit, you better not let race day be the first time you put that wetsuit on, because they can be, if it doesn't fit you right, it can make you feel kind of like a panic, like I got to get out of this. I actually know a guy who panicked because the race day was the first time he was wearing his wetsuit. He held onto a boat. I'm not even making this up. Held onto a boat and took the wetsuit off in the water and just let it drop to the bottom of he couldn't keep it on. And it was like, took his wetsuit off. He finished the race, but this, several $100 wetsuit that he bought, he just took it off because he couldn't deal with it. So, that probably wasn't the best strategy. As Christine mentioned, practice, if you get a chance to do an open water swim, have your stuff laid out, have your bike laid out, and just run out of the swim, get your wetsuit off as quickly as possible, hop on your bike, and just ride your bike for 5 minutes, just to experience what it's like to go from swim to bike or from bike to run. We talked about fuel. Don't eat anything for the first time. If some guy next to you says, hey, I try these gels, like, all right, I'll try them tomorrow. I'm not trying it today, right? Because what if makes it, it could do anything. If
And there are no
possible,
bathrooms on the course. We've asked several times. There are no bathrooms on the course. It's 12 miles out. It's like 12 and change, 12 and change on the bike. Maybe at the park there might be a bathroom. I don't remember where the bathrooms are at that park. But like there's no bathrooms on the course. You have the bathrooms that are in transition at the beach, and that's about it.
Yep. I would definitely preview this course if you can. I mean, you don't necessarily have to go ride it or run it, but maybe even just drive it, just to kind of get a feel for what it's like. If you can do that, if you're local, that's certainly a great way to sort of have an idea of strategy and kind of get a sense of what you're in for. You shouldn't wear anything on race day that you've never worn before. It should be the same smelly socks and the same anything you're planning on wearing on race day. Do a couple of dress rehearsals in it between now and then to make sure that what if there's a seam that chafes you? What if there's, you know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. You don't want to discover that halfway through the bike where you're like, oh, I have to stop and take this sock off now, you know? And like Christine mentioned, lay out your transition, you know, and just lay it out and have a towel there with here's my helmet, here's my bike shoes, here's my visor, here's all the stuff that I want to have with me, here's my snacks, you know, have it all laid out. Um, and I think another thing is, you know, you're going to get to the race and you're going to see people doing it their way. Don't change anything that you wanted to do just because you saw some guy, you know, everybody has their idea of what they think is the best way to do it. Just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you, and vice versa. You do it the way you want to do it, and you know, and don't make any last minute changes. Like, oh, I decided I saw this guy, he looked pretty fast, so I just, you know, well, what if it doesn't work out? You know, and that's it. So before I dump out of my screen sharing, I just wanted to share my email with you, my phone number with you. I'm here as a resource. I, I love talking about training. Like I said, I did this race last year, so I can tell you kind of my experience on the course. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love being a coach, and I love talking about training and what to do and why to do it and why not to do it. You can check out, my club, Capuzzo Multisport Coaching. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, kind of get a sense of, what we have going on. And that's about it. So please don't hesitate to contact me. I really, really mean that. I love talking about triathlon stuff. So let me get out of here. And so let me stop sharing.
So just a few questions that I can answer. The course is identical to last year, with the only difference being is instead of the transition being in that parking lot, it will actually be in the beach area. That's as far as we have it right now. That is our plan. We had wanted to do that last year, but we kind of played around with a few ideas, and we ended up just sticking with one as opposed to making a last minute change. So our plan at this point is to do that unless something dramatically changes that we feel that we can't do it properly in that area. So it'll be behind the beach itself. In addition to that, so nothing has changed on the course. I try to, negotiate, regrading. Oh, my cat is about to come. My son's cat, rather, is about to come. He's very formal. He has a bow tie. We had thought about, regrading the roads to avoid some hills, but apparently that can't be done. I've tried to make it the easiest way to ride in Hopatcong, um, especially because the there's four streets that kind of converge into Crescent Cove Beach. Um, and one of them is Bell, which is pretty hilly. The other one is DuPont, which actually leads up to the highest point in Hopatcong, so we avoid that, even though it's freshly paved. The road on Hudson, I'm sorry, the cat's tail. Hudson they should be paving or at least filling in the holes on Hudson. It's not in the greatest shape, but you're only on it for a little bit. Um, so that's kind of what we have to do with that. And then almost the entire course is within the borough of Hopatcong, but we do pop into Jefferson Township for a few miles, which is actually where I live. And then we turn around and go back home. There is packet pickup. The day of, it opens 6 a.m. and it closes at 7 a.m. sharp. I love you all, but I don't want to see you at 7:25. It's too close. You have to be here. You have to be ready. Because we're not USAT, you can have a friend pick up your bib. I have no problem with that. But if you do need to make any swaps, if somebody wants to take your space, just let me know. I don't charge for it. I'll swap it out. I'll transfer. I'll defer you. No big deal. The question on wetsuit legal, wetsuits are okay. You're not omitted from prizes. I actually once, there was only 3 people in my age group, but I wore that wetsuit. So I end up being disqualified for awards I could have placed. But so we don't have that rule, so you can wear your wetsuit. They're okay to me. If you like swimming in your wetsuit, go in your wetsuit. It's a good little insurance. There is no water or food on the bike course. I will have water bananas, ice on the run course, probably at about mile 1.5 or one, just depending. I just have to double check on the logistics of where I had it last year. We typically, last year we had 221 participants, and that's pretty much our capacity. So we'll be around there between that 221, 230 mark. It's Saturday the 6th. There are real bathrooms on site. I'm trying to think of any, and I think that is, what time would you suggest? I would arrive around, I would arrive around You're gonna just drop off your bike. So I would drop off your bike first. So drive down, drop off your bike, and you can get set up into transition. But I would arrive probably around 6:30 at minimum. And that's if you're dropping off your bike. If you're not dropping off your bike and you're just putting your stuff on and riding down, number one, please wear your helmet. If you're going to be doing that, I don't want to see you with your helmet on your handlebars riding down hills. Please, please, because you got to make it to the race. But yeah, so I would arrive early, give yourself time, test out the water, get situated, find, if you're not from around the area, it can be a little confusing to drive out here in the sticks. Give yourself time. You don't want to be stressed. Personally, I would be late to my own funeral, but on race day is the only time you see me 15 minutes earlier than I'm supposed to be. And by that point, if I say be there at 6 a.m., race me is going to be there at 5:45, sitting there meditating with my Yeti, and my little thing of oatmeal and a bagel. Is there a max time to finish? No. We're for everybody.
I personally, I like getting there early. Like what if as long as the sun is up, I just don't like to create stress.
You
You
don't
know
need
what I
to get your
mean?
heart rate
Yeah, like
elevated getting to
just
the race.
get there and get your stuff set up. And I like to kind of I find it relaxing to just kind of walk around and chat with people. Like I don't want to be rushing in at the last minute. Like if it's light out, go get all your stuff.
Even we had people show up last year. It wasn't even light out. It's an open rack. So that means that you can put your bike wherever you feel like it, but it's first come, first served. So, if you want a good spot, then you're going to arrive earlier. Um, and the race is rain or shine. The only time that we will make any changes to it would be in the unlikely case there would be algae blooms that would impact our ability to go in the water. Um, And in addition to that, if there was any major event, um, like a hurricane I mean, I've had hurricanes before. I'm a pretty experienced race director, so we've had it all. We've had COVID, Delta variants, we've had it all. So we always try to find a reasonable solution. Um, yeah, it's really important to arrive early. And in terms of tri shorts and tri suits, I like Zoot. Pearl Izumi is good too.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know for women, what I find is that there are certain brands that work better with certain body types. I'm a cyclist above everything. I can't wear craft because it is meant for European women who are like 5'9", and I'm not. I'm 5'3", and I'm built like a pear. So you just sometimes even just a simple Google. I know there's a lot of Facebook groups for triathlete women. They can be really helpful. Be like, hey, I'm heavier on the bottom or I'm heavier on top. Like, what would be a good brand? It can be really different. And even for men, the same thing. Once again, that brand Craft, they're a great brand. I love
Mhm.
their stuff. But unfortunately, it is meant for Swedish women, which I'm not. There kind of is a mechanic on the course. So we have 200 plus cyclists. So last year we had about 5 cyclists lose their chain on Hudson Avenue because they were
Oh,
struggling to shift. And this was a experience issue, and that's okay. But there is cyclecraft is there. Um, Biggest issue that people had was a chain issue. We had no people with major bike issues. Um, Flat, when you're riding, you really should know how to do it yourself. However, if the Beeline is the Cyclecraft mobile bike shop, if they see you, they're going to help you out because like they can change flats in 2 seconds, whereas it might take me like 5, 10 minutes to do it, depending on how much energy is going through my body. You might get very nervous. So there is a mechanic on the course. If for some reason you cannot mechanically finish, then we will pull you off the course. As long as you're not injured, you would be like a does not qualify for awards, but I know we did have one person who did have a small issue, and decided not to do the swim, and we allowed them to continue, but they just don't qualify for awards, because they didn't do the actual whole thing. Can't see because she didn't train. You in questions specific to like, can I omit the bike or the swim? Just let me know. We can take care of it because we're not bound to the rules of US a triathlon. Hey Dan.
Like literally. I'm sorry. Perfect spiral.
Oh, that Dan.
It's just, yeah. So Dan is there filling in on all the spots on race day. That's my husband. He handles everything that I don't handle. But yes, just let me know. We can kind of talk it through, and see what the best options. My most important thing is that we keep people safe. Um, that's really it. But I want to thank you all and make sure when when you come to the triathlon, smile, be happy. The reason I started race directing, was because my best friend told me I was really good at it. She got me this obnoxious llama. She passed away from stage 4 breast cancer. She was 43 years old, and she regretted a lot of her life before diagnosis and even after her first diagnosis because she didn't bring a lot of positivity into the universe for a while, and it took her a long time to learn that lesson. So I truly live by that. Take care of each other, be good to each other, smile, tell somebody they're looking great on that bike. Tell them they got it when, it means so much. When I did my first half Ironman, I rocked the bike. I went way too fast on the bike. And I'm like, I'm 2/3, I'm almost there. And I start running, and this man looks at me, and they're like partying on their pickup truck. And he goes, keep smiling, honey, you have a long way to go. I will tell you, it was 98 degrees that day. All of the heat just hit me. And I just felt completely dejected. And it got into my head so much. I believe that we have the capability of lifting each other up and being positive to one another will only lead to good things. So somebody like that is on my course. I will have the police escort them out because it was criminal what he did to me. But be positive, be there with each other. It's a short course, it's fun, it's beautiful. The birds will be chirping, they'll be swooping down. You'll get to see Mother Nature in all of its glory. Um, and you should be happy. Take a deep breath and thank your creator that you are able to do this. It's awesome. All right. We recorded this so that way, our other participants, you guys can rewatch it. If you have any course specific questions about logistics, what time, to arrive, how do I get my bib, where do I go? Those questions can absolutely go to me. If you need some friendly advice, you know, I've been there, I've done that. I'm not competitive, like Paul is, and he has, a wealth of experience, and it really just, that's what the coaches do. They do an amazing job, and they help people reach, their dreams. Additionally, my mother-in-law is a very experienced cyclist. She actually got me into cycling like 20 years ago. Um, she will be doing a ride for people who are scared of their gears, and might need some help practicing with rollers. She's trained many, many, many cyclists, and she actually learned how to cycle. She was in her 40s when she did. So it's pretty neat. I'll also see, I do live on a private lake community. I just have to ask permission from my association if we can bring out some swimmers just to kind of try an open water swim out by us. But if you go by Crescent Cove, it's been my understanding that Wendy has just let people swim or check out. She's very sweet, and they're very receptive over there. Thank you so much, Paul, for your time.
It's my pleasure.
Anything you guys need, I'm here.
Thanks so much.
All right, take care, everybody. Have a fabulous night. Happy training.
Thank you, Christine.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Oh, I think you.